So first off, an outlier is a value in a data set. Anytime it says data set, that just means a list of numbers that is very different from the other values. Okay? So, for example, if you had a list of numbers, you had the numbers 1, 2, 2, 3, and 75.
Yeah, I don't have my but the outlier.
75 would be an outlier. So how do outliers affect data? Affect would be how does it change, or how does it make your results look different? I'm not going to make you do these calculations, but in the book they may ask you to find the mean, median, and mode of a set with an outlier and without an outlier. So first off, before we do this, are there any outliers, do you think, in that data set?
Yes. What are outliers?
So you said 64. It's very different than these other numbers. These are all pretty close to each other, but 64 is very different. So are there any outliers? Yes. And what is it? It's the number 64. If you were to do the calculations here, 31 plus 33 plus 33 plus 32 plus 31 plus 28 plus 64, you would get 252. And there's a total of 7 numbers. You divide that, you would get a mean of 36 with those numbers. If you were to put them in order, smallest to biggest, you would get a middle number of 32. And the mode on those, the most repeated, you'd have 2 numbers. You would have 31 and 33. Okay? So on your assignment that you'll have to do, you will have to find the mean, median, and mode. They won't necessarily always give it to you.
How about range?
We don't need to worry about the range yet. Yeah. So then we're going to do this without the outlier. So we're going to remove that outlier from our data just to see what it looks like without it. So we said we had an outlier of 64. So our new numbers are going to be our 33, 31, 33, 32, 31, and 28. So I have one less number now. I took the outlier out. Okay? So sometimes a question will say to you, find the mean, median, mode with the outlier and without the outlier. So you have to do it twice. Okay? So the mean, when I do it without the outlier, I get 31.3 repeating.
Wait, yeah, am I look, I don't know which one, but it had like 31.16666.
Yeah, so then on that case you would do 31.16 with a repeating line over the 6.
That's what, and then I did.
Yep. The median, the middle number here, is 31.5. The mode, in this case, is still 31 and 33. So, what changed the most when you took the outlier out? What changed the most? Happiness?
All the numbers, like, they were all 31 points.
Okay, but looking at the top group of numbers, 36, 32, 31, and 33, and the bottom group, 31.3, 31.5, and 31 and 33, which numbers changed the most? The mean, median, or mode? Helena? The mean changed the most. So when you have outliers, it tends to make your mean look very different when you include an outlier. Okay? The median's pretty close. It's only 0.5 off. The mode is exactly the same. So when you have outliers, it's not a great idea to use the mean as a representation of your data. Because when you look at those numbers, most of those numbers are smaller than 36. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So to say 36 represents that group of numbers,
No.
That's not a very good statement to say.
32 does.
32 would be good. 31 and a half would be good. 33 wouldn't be bad. 31 wouldn't be bad. But to say 36 with an outlier there, it doesn't really quite work great. So then it goes into this what best describes my data. Okay? Again, so a big list of numbers. And I'm not going to make you do the big long calculation here on the notes. But to find the mean, what would we do? Jason, what do we do to find the mean? Add them all together. And then what? Divide by how many we have. So when we add all of these together, I get 1,965. And I'm going to divide that by 10 because there's 10 numbers. So I end up with 196.5 as my mean.
Wait, is the outlier, whatever the mean is that fit? It's at 500.
In this case, I would say it's 500 on this one. Yep. The median. If I put them all in order, I'd get a median of 167.5. In the mode, I'd get of 180. Because there's 3 180s there. Okay, so what you need to do then, when you look at these 3 results, you need to say, do any of them not really represent our data? What do you think, Zach? 500, that's an outlier. Okay, what about the 196.5, which is the mean, the median of 167.5, or the mode of 180? Do any of those 3 numbers not really represent our data? What do you think, Happiness?
What, the mode?
The mode? Yeah, I'd say the mode doesn't really work. It only represents 3 of the numbers, right?
Yeah.
There's 130s in there, there's 150s in there, there's 160s in there, there's a 500 in there. So the mode is not a great representation. What else? Mean or median?
Mean?
Which one's better, the mean or the median, do you think, to represent our data?
Median?
The median. Yeah, I agree with you. The mean is 196.5. How many numbers are smaller than 196.5 in our list?
All of them except for 500.
All of them except one of them. So it's not a very good representation because it's so much bigger than all the rest. So our best representation is the median. Best when there are outliers. So if you look at a list of numbers and there's an outlier and it says pick the best number to represent those, the median would be the best one to use. In this case, the mode is 180. But you have 175, 130, 150, 150, 160, and another 160. You have 6 numbers that are lower than that. Right? Whereas when you look at 167.5, you have 5 numbers lower than that and 5 numbers higher than that. So it kind of gives that's your go-to when you have outliers. Okay? The other thing that the notes are going to do are going to say, how could this affect something? So let's see. Kyler, how old are you?
12.
Taryn?
12.
Grady?
12.
Abdriel?
12.
Emery?
12.
Zach?
12.
Aiden?
11.
Liam? Peyton?
11.
Olivia?
11.
Mason?
11.
Helena? Hayden?
12.
Jason? Happiness?
12. I thought all of us was 12. I thought all of us was
All right.
Actually, older than more.
There's our ages. Okay?
Okay.
So we could find an average.
I'm older than.
We could find an average. We could find the mean. What if I add my age to that list? What's that gonna do? What's gonna happen to the mean? What's gonna happen to the average if I add my age? It's gonna do what? Yeah, if you had Mr. Helsinga on here at 35 years old.
You're so young. I thought you were like 30.
So
That's rude.
if you had my age in here, it's going to
How is that rude?
it's going to bring our average up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it gonna change our mode? Probably not. In this case, it won't for sure. What about our median, our middle number?
It's gonna be
It'll change it maybe a little bit, but maybe not.
just a little.
So when you add a number, if you add a bigger number on, it's going to bring your mean up. Okay, so let's take me back off a minute, and let's add Cade's age on here.
Oh my God.
3.
Cade is 3. He'll tell you he's halfway to 4, but he's 3. So he's 3.5. What's that gonna do to your average?
Go down.
It's gonna bring it down. Okay? So there's be some questions that say, when you add this number to it, what's gonna happen? When you add this number to it, what's gonna happen? Okay?